Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Tech Finds Tech. Today, we have Mr. Asim Brown. He has spanned leading roles at major platforms like eBay. He is most recently serving as CEO of Catalyser, a social tech company powering employee engagement and workplace giving across 80,000 plus employees. So it's an honor to have you, Mr. Asim. I think we should begin this podcast. Yeah.
Well, my journey started at a very young age. Even when I was in high school in the 80s, my dad and I would put together computers. We'd solder motherboards and visual boards into a computer, and we'd sell them. And there was no internet back then, so we sold them through newspapers, local newspapers. So that makes me sound pretty old, but that's kind of how it got started, and my love and passion for tech. And then after university, I got an opportunity to work in Silicon Valley, and I worked for a lot of various startups in the 90s. And to be honest, I was kind of more focused on sales and then more than product, but I'd always had a passion for strategy. Probably 10 years into my career or more, I got a chance to work for eBay. They wanted someone to do strategy and look at their product strategy. And I kind of sort of fell in love with that opportunity. And I just sort of, I put together a product strategy, and it was kind of one of those strategies that I went, I've got nothing to lose. I'm just gonna do what I think will make, will make it work and not really think about any alternatives. And they gave me a shot. And I had my own P&L. I had a tech team and a sales team, and we were able to build an extraordinary piece of middleware that allowed us to sync eBay's old data with our customers' data, which didn't exist until that point, weirdly enough. And it worked. And we went from having 27 retail clients on to thousands within years. So it was a very fabulous opportunity for me, and really sort of whet my appetite for product strategy. So that's kind of how it started.
That song calling the thing you already told us it will not present on any platform if we search Asim Brown. So thank you so much. So moving next, what role did AI and automation play in shaping product business in your previous companies?
I had my own startup for about 10 years, and we used to scrape data and organize it and structure it, and then add metadata onto it. And it was a marketplace. And back in 2017, we were struggling with the amount of data and the categorization of it and the metadata aspects of our product. And we had, and basically it came down to understanding what we were scraping and then identifying it and then categorizing it so that search worked. And we found Google had a product, which was okay. It was an image recognition product. But during that time, we also found out like a little known company called OpenAI. And this is back in 2017. And like in our wildest dreams, we could imagine that they, be responsible for ChatGPT. But that started my journey with AI. We used this product that, was mind blowing for us, that allowed us to put in any image, and they would give us the textual information. And then we take that information as the metadata, and we'd use that to search. And it was brilliant. We could see colors, size, what they were, even gender. But they were so good. And we were all blown away by it. We had to write our own algorithms on the back of that, but that kind of began my journey with AI. And then most recently, working with Texagon, which was amazing. Big shout out to you guys. We were able to work AI into Catalyser. And for me, that was, revolutionary for the product, because we had to, in the beginning, before using AI, we had to essentially do reporting, and it was all manual. By integrating AI, we were able to allow our customers to build any sort of bespoke report based on the data that we had using an AI reporting tool. So it was quite extraordinary.
Thank you so much. And I can say I want to carry on this conversation. So I want to know your point of view that how should startups or business companies do you think should integrate AI into their products? It is still it is like a necessity or still a nice to have.
Look, I mean, I think if you're not thinking about AI now, you're going to be catching up later. But AI for the sake of AI is kind of a trap. I think businesses should be asking themselves, what frictions they're removing and what they're trying to improve for the business. AI is a core part of a value prop, but for others, it's behind the scenes. It's like streamlining ops, it's reducing costs, it's improving experiences and things like that. Either way, it's becoming a necessity, but you don't need to build, your own LLM. You just need to understand how to make it work for your customers. And I will also say that, like depending on your business, if your business is a pure play and you're supporting other businesses, maybe you'll build AI into your platform to help those businesses. But for a lot of businesses, the ecosystem, takes care of the problem. You start looking around, everyone in the ecosystem, like Microsoft, Spotify, and even eBay, they're all building AI into their own platform. So by default, you will be able to have an AI enabled business because you'll be using these other platforms out there. You don't necessarily need to go out and retool your own platform. So AI is happening regardless.
Yep, got your point. So the main thing is that we don't have to reinvent the wheel, don't go out and build your own LLMs. Just use whatever is already present, just put together a couple of pieces and just focus on building a solution that really solves problem. Is that true?
I agree. Yeah, that's exactly the point.
So as you have like scaled Catalyser and your own startup of 10 years, you have like a lot of experiences as an executive. So I want to know, you have like more across product and leadership. What's your approach to building teams that can move fast while still shipping quality?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, for me, clarity and autonomy is like key. I think people move fast when they understand what the why is and are trusted to own the how. We need autonomy, and I try and set clear direction. So this is the problem we're solving, and this is the outcome we want. And then I like to get out of the way. I think people should be able to, I think that whole process of creativity and problem solving needs to happen in the wild. But I also try and build discipline into the way I work. So we try and focus on rituals. So like short feedback loops and clear metrics. And fast doesn't mean messy. So we try to sort of, I guess, remain focused and aligned. I'd rather ship something that's sort of tight and meaningful than stuck in an analysis mode, for instance. So I guess that's kind of, like how I like to think of it in terms of leadership. And I think people need to be comfortable with ambiguity. I think the great thing about AI is it solves a lot of ambiguity, but I think the best businesses, they solve problems that, are steep with lots of constraining variables. So yeah, so anyway, but clarity and autonomy is kind of my go-to in terms of my leadership style.
Sounds good. And you mentioned that you bring clarity to the team, and that's how you actually lead the development and you actually lead the team. I want to know that if you want to share any kind of moment to remember that where you had to take a technical decision and you took and it had a surprising effect on the business.
Yeah. So where a technical decision that built clarity in the business. Oh man. I mean, there's a few, like even the last business, in the example I made with Bounty, I mean, like using an AI solution, it allowed us to refocus and repurpose the business. Up until that point, we just didn't have the ability to give our customers clear data. We struggled already for 5 years and we were pretty much ready to sort of close the doors, but that solution helped us to reestablish a business. We wound up winning these, huge accounts on the back of that. And it was amazing. And even with Catalyser, I mean, like we decided to completely re-platform the business and focus on personalization and analytics. And it was a massive technical shift for us. But what surprised me was how it changed our sales conversations. Clients weren't just buying on compliance, but they were buying on culture and engagement, and that's through technology. So it repositioned us in the market, gave us new revenue lines, and let us go head to head with global players. So sometimes the most techie moves have the biggest commercial upside, and if you connect the dots right, if it all works out for everyone.
Sounds good. I mean, the difficulties you had and everything that you have done in the past, given the current scenario that we have commercial AI available to solve any kind of problems that you had now previously. So if you're right, given the current landscape, if you're building a startup now today from scratch, how would you approach things in the today's modern world? And given the experience that you have done in the previous parts.
Another good question. It's funny because I think back like in the 90s when I remember, speaking to my friends and saying we should start a company. And we were like, okay, we're going to need a web server. We're going to need an email server. And then, a back end server and all of these things that we needed to build a company. It was onerous and, no one wanted to do it. And you just think in 25 years, how much has changed. So, and I guess a lot of the lessons I've learned in building my own businesses and working with others is I build lighter and test sooner, I think. I think AI allows you to do that. And I also try and get customers to come on the journey with us. So if we make this, will you pay for it? The best startups aren't building solutions looking for problems. They're building problems. Building solutions. They're not building solutions looking for problems. They're building solutions based on problems that they've identified through their existing customer base. So I focus less on perfection, more on velocity. I would be shipping value quickly. Learning as fast as you can. I've been guilty of be on the other side of that. Even though I know that, I sometimes relearn that lesson. I'd also hire differently. I think a lot of people just don't know how to hire the right people. And I'm not saying that in a mean way. I just think that instead of just skills, I'd look for people who are naturally cross-functional and comfortable with ambiguity, as I mentioned earlier. And I'd bake AI into the foundation of whatever you're doing, not just as a feature, but as a part of how you operate. Like I was talking about, like the ecosystem from product to market and support. And, I think that stack's changed. And so has the pace that work is being done today. I mean, it is so incredibly fast and it's awe-inspiring to watch. You think about something that even from an AI perspective that you need today, and a few weeks later, either ChatGPT or one of the LLMs have done it, or some other ecosystem product is doing exactly what you need, from programming to marketing. So yeah, so I think that's kind of my philosophy on building startups today, and it will change.
Yeah, exactly. So I completely agree with you. So as someone who's been in both strategic and technical rooms, what's your advice for the founders who are trying to build future programs in today's marketplace?
I'd say it's something that's underrated, and I'll just talk about this first. In being a founder is luck. No one talks about luck, but you need to have a lot of luck. And there's a theory that you make your own luck, but that just means that you just try a lot of things, and eventually you get lucky. But I do think I just wanted to put firstly, I think don't discount luck. It's something that every founder will tell you that they've been on both sides of. And also say think in systems, not just sprints. Tech changes fast, but humans needs don't. So build around real problem, not shiny tools. I know we've been talking about AI, and at the same time, make your product modular. The great thing is we don't have to build email servers and web servers and load balancers anymore. Like you can modularize things and plug things in and out and make it scale the way you want to based on what's required. So I think that's really important. And data rich, like data is the compensation today. Like it's what everyone's after. But that allows you to adapt as things shift. I keep your feedback loops tight from users, from your team, from the market. Always be analyzing the data. And then the future is something you can't predict. So it's something that you're going to be in constant dialogue with about. I think the term we use today for that, not knowing that the future is iterative development, just iterating on your product as different market forces and so forth change the trajectory of what you're doing. But yeah, I think those are sort of my core elements. All like